Hello and welcome to Heather and Hops. My name is Kat and I'm a knitter based in Hertfordshire in the United Kingdom. This is my little space on the internet where I have documented my knitting journey from Project 1 through to now, and I am kind of on a multi-faceted journey, I guess, doing a few projects that accumulate to one bigger project. And yeah, if you are in the UK, you'll know, but if you're not in the UK, we had snow this weekend, and quite a lot of England's already had some snow, but we haven't, and I wasn't getting upset, but I was starting to really want that. So it's been quite dark, and I really wanted one of those bright days where it just feels bright even though it's the middle of winter. And it wasn't quite bright, but it was beautiful. I am so glad we got it. And Alex and I went on our sort of daily walk when it's the weekend yesterday, and it was just sublime. It was quite busy, but we're local at this point. I've lived here most of my life. I know where to go to not be surrounded by people, which is quite good. And I do think people seem to be being a bit more mindful yesterday than I have otherwise experienced, which was really good to see. And it was nice to hear kids having fun, which might sound odd, but just to hear absolute joy of slightly sledding. It wasn't quite deep enough for proper sledding, but sledding and building snowmen, and just, it was lovely to have that as sort of atmospheric noise. And I only say this because it makes me giggle, but I've had quite a few messages telling me how beautiful the place that I live is. And I just want to make clear that I show you the parts that I love and that I love to spend time in, and those parts are very different to what you would see if you looked out of any window in our kooky little house, or if you walked most places. We're lucky that the park is in the centre of town, so it's only a 5-minute walk really from us, and the park is a lot bigger than anyone might anticipate from the town we're from. And it's got a park that leads on to sort of a nature reserve, a canal. We've got a golf course which it is what it is, surrounded by woodland, so it is quite a bit of space that we've got to choose from if we want to go for a walk. But otherwise, we have some very questionable architecture in Watford, and it's not quite as, so one day I might try and edit a bit of footage that, looks and feels hopefully like the usual bit of nature that I share with you, but actually highlights some of my favourite buildings, because there are some gorgeous buildings and some not so much. And I do hope that we have a place called Cheslin Gardens just about a mile from our house, so I'd like to show you that too. That's a tiny sort of National Trust property, I think, but the garden's quite pretty, and again it's like tucked away between 3 houses, so it's sort of surrounded by other people's back gardens and a couple of large houses. It's quite a cool little spot. But I digress. I hope you're well. I hope you have a cup of something, and perhaps some knitting or spinning or whatever craft you might be doing, or none. You don't have to be crafty, but I assume that might be why you're here. Anyway, I do have a coffee today, and I'm going to continue to drink it when I can. I'm really excited to be talking about knitting today. I feel like I shared on Instagram a post yesterday talking about one of the projects that I'm going to share with you today, and I honestly feel like I've come full circle. When I started knitting, I immediately gravitated towards rustic yarns. I guess today I'm wearing entirely Let Lopey. This is my anniversary sweater, and this is just an improvised 1x1 ribbed hat. I will link both projects below. I talked about this one in quite a bit of detail recently, so I won't talk about that. But I have come full circle, and for a while I actually worked for a indie yarn company, quite a large one, larger than you might think, and I won't talk about it, but through working there I kind of totally lost myself. I had to work with superwash yarns. I just got lost, and that's okay. And actually it's quite cool to know and experience these things, and the fact that I got to is very cool. But that aside, I have sort of managed to realign myself, and my knitting has sort of come back to my practices with yoga, which might sound strange, and even coffee. So for me, provenance, process, like all these things, the final outcome makes such a difference to me, and enjoying the process more through my yarn choices and pattern choices and even colour choices, it's kind of like a thing that I'm consciously aware of rather than unintentionally being part of my. So all that to say, I am really happy to be where I am today in my thoughts, in my processes, when I'm picking patterns, picking yarns for projects, and that's kind of cool. I still have a bit of yarn that I would love to rehome or gift, or maybe figure out some sort of charity project I can do to move away from these yarns, but otherwise very happy where I am. And this, I might still have a few superwash projects and nylon projects, and that's not to say I would judge anyone for their choices. It's just choose what really brings you joy and what, you know, in your means. I like to find affordable versions of things, like Let Lopi's very affordable, Jacob Fleece by West Yorkshire Spinners. I go on about that a lot, but I really love the base, and again, it makes using natural yarns very affordable. I'll stop saying but complete other end of the spectrum, I finished my anonymous socks. I say anonymous because they were improvised, and I know that someone, I think, asked on my last full video what this pattern was. It is not a pattern, it is improvised. I will make sure I go back to that comment and let them know. I had the weekend off of responding to anything on social media where I could, and that's quite nice to come back on a Monday and sit with a cup of tea and really spend time with the comments rather than trying to do it amidst whilst trying to have a weekend and spend time with my husband. So I will do that today. And they are just some seed stitch socks with a fish lips kiss heel in a garter stitch, a wedge toe, and some ribbing. Very simple socks, but a lot of fun to knit actually. I did switch to DPNs for the last of this, and I'm so pleased that I did. It made knitting the seed stitch a lot more fun for me, which I spoke about again last episode. So all that to say, if you want to connect more with that, then you can. But it just meant that I wasn't magic looping, and I don't really enjoy the process of moving the stitches. It takes away from the meditative nature of knitting that I really, really love. I wish I remember what this was. I will try and find the ball band. I did have a look, but I haven't spotted it. But if I ever spot it, I will let you know. But this was a gift from one of my best friends for my 30th birthday. And this one is Love Bug Yarns Moody Jewels on her Platinum Sock base. and this was a gift in our little wedding box we got from our lovely group of Discord knitters. So I'm really happy with these. They're a lot of fun. I have a feeling that they will last all right. I knit them a little bit denser than I normally would. I've gone down a needle size in my sock. In fact, I might have gone down 2 for these. But the mohair will add a lot of warmth, I think. And mohair is very slick, so I'm sure it will felt a little bit, but I think it will felt less than I anticipate. If it does felt, I won't be upset because that should add a bit more warmth and a bit more strength. But yeah, pretty happy with these. The colour's beautiful, and I'm not going to tell you if I'm keeping these or gifting them, just in case the recipient happens to watch. But that gives it away a bit, doesn't it? But anyway, really happy with these, and I did have a lot of fun knitting them. And yeah, so I do have another half finished object because it is not a pair, it is one singular. So I recently opened a Ko-Fi, which I still find very strange to say out loud, and I'm completely... I feel like I've got an abundant heart. I'm very grateful for the support that I have been given so far. I can't tell you what a big difference that makes, and hopefully will be reflected in podcasts going forward and giving me a bit more leeway to spend a bit of time researching and planning things, which is a real blessing, because I've been unwell, all these things. But anyway, I'm very grateful, and I can't express my gratitude in words. I'm not very good with words. But the first yarn that I purchased for my sort of no nylon exploration is Garthnor Snowdonia sock, which is then one of the new ones, and it is the Idris colour in 62.5% Romney and 37.5% Hebridean. Grown in South Wales, the Scottish Highlands and South West England, scoured and spun in Yorkshire and hand finished in West Wales. Certified organic and climate positive wool, and even the paper is recycled and it's vegetable based ink, which is really cool. When I ordered it, I also received a card, and on that card, if you've never ordered from Garthnor, they mark where the fleece was grown, and I just think that's such a nice touch, and you know, really for me, rooting down the provenance, and it's just lovely. So I'm gonna, throughout today, I'm gonna try and put in, I'll have already done it hopefully for the sock, the mohair socks, footage of up close of the fibre and the fabric it creates, just because I think that might be useful going forward. I'm going to try that. I just think it's all well and good for me to hold it to the camera, but I think actually seeing it close up might be more useful. So I cast on and I did toe up sock, and I used the integrated heel flap and gusset from LB Hand Knits, yes, which I'm not sure on doing it. I need to go back and do a traditional heel flip and gusset toe up. I'm not sure how that's varied, if I'm honest now, from a traditional one, and I hope to do that. I think the next pair I will do a traditional heel flap and gusset, to be able to experience the difference, because I've only ever done one top down, and from memory I didn't enjoy picking up the stitches on the sock. I just think it for me it was just a no-go, but I'm a lot further on my journey now, so perhaps I would enjoy it more and there would be much less room for error. I did these using DPNs, which was the first sock that I've done fully on DPNs, and I really enjoyed the process. It felt different to me, but in a very good way. I did feel like I could keep the rhythm of just going round, and actually it's been really interesting hearing about other knitters' knitting needle preferences, and I would be interested in trying the higher flyers, but I'm very happy with the DPNs and I don't need any more needles at the moment. But if you've used them, I would love to know your experience of them. And maybe in the future I will try a pair and perhaps do a needle swap. But here it is. So this is the basic sock. I can't remember the name. I'll pop it on the screen. With the integrated heel that is by LB Hand Knits. It's got a simple toe, the integrated heel flap and gusset, which I've got to say I really enjoyed knitting. In fact, potentially more or as much as the Fish Lips Kiss. I would like to figure out if I can do a slip stitch heel using this method. I'm sure that's possible, but I wanted to do it plain to pattern for the first time because I think it's useful when doing a construction that you're slightly, not 100% on. I think it's useful to follow the pattern and then go off-piste next time. And then I just did a bit of ribbing. So a very simple sock, but I have to say I really enjoyed knitting with the yarn. If you're very sensitive to wool, I'm really not. My tolerance is incredibly high. You might not love this, but I think it's really soft considering it's got 37% Hebridean in there. And I have put the sock on and it feels so good. I am really excited to, I've cast on, but I've literally got the tiniest bit of my second sock, so I'm not gonna show you it looks the same as it did on the last episode that this one looked like. And I'm really excited to see how it wears. It feels strong, the twist, it's got a very high twist. But I like that it's almost got a halo and a fuzz to it. Yeah, I don't have much more to say on this for now, but I hope to knit 4 or 5 pairs of socks that are nylon free, and actually I think I might be a convert having just used this, but obviously I need to see how they wear. But I'm very, very happy with it so far. But like I said, and I will do a little bit more background research, so I will look into, I've been told that lovely Emma of Woolly Mammoth, who I would love to get a skein of her sock yarn. I'm not sure if I'll be able to for this purpose. I will watch her video which I've been recommended, and also I know that Mrs. M of Mrs. M's Curiosity Cabinets has done a podcast on it, so I would like to sit down and listen to that too, because I'm very much a practical learner and I find that if I can do things I gain a lot more from it, and also maybe pick up on slightly different things, and I think it's the more experience you can take in, the more you can share. That does make sense. I was questioning myself then. Yeah, like the same with the needle recommendations. That's been really interesting because there's things that I have thought about and continue to think about whilst I am knitting. In fact, it's opened up more now that I have put it out there, put my thoughts out there. Other knitters like yourself are reflecting on it and feeding that back to me, and that in turn is making me think about different aspects of my knitting. And I think it's really interesting to continue the conversation and keep keep learning. I think that was a bit of waffle, but hopefully you understand the roundabout point I'm trying to make. I would like to experience this, and I would like to help other people to experience this too, whilst also taking on board actions and learning that other people have already done. Yeah. Just gonna pause. I didn't realise how long I had been talking and had to do the old pause button. I'm just a bit shocked that little Audrey's not come to join us. I will try and put in some kitten footage at the end just to share that little Audrey love. But yeah, lots of thinking at the moment and lots of moving in the right direction, which I feel very grateful for. And I think it's 2021 has started out better than I thought it might, world aside. So I haven't actually shared any of this because I cast it on last Sunday, and then I proceeded to talk about needles for the last podcast. But a lovely subscriber, Amanda, sent me a link to this pattern, and I fell in love with it when I saw it. I swatched for it the same day that I received the pattern, which was very kind, and waited a full week before casting on, which again was a really nice way to be. It kind of makes the process a little bit longer, a little bit more thoughtful. And when I swatched, so this is the Braids of Grass by LB Hand Knits. And it is a top-down jumper with a cabled yoke with no purling in it. And I was really taken back with it when I saw it. And when I swatched, I used, this is Shropshire DK by You and Ply. I just love the smell, it's very sheepy still. And it's the colourway Middle Earth. And I swatched using recommended needles, and I actually got, I think it was just half a stitch off gauge, and I was quite happy with that because it was a little bit looser. So I opted to do the smallest size. And I've got pretty far. I have finished the body and one sleeve, and have done some inches on the second one. And because there's no purling, there's no short rows, it is a very quick knit, and it's DK as well. But I have tried to slow down and really enjoy the process. So I initially cast on using 4.5, which is the recommended needle, and it's said to use a firm cast on, and I was okay with that. But I was also a bit worried that when I did the first 2 rows, it looked a bit big. So I ripped back, which is unlike me, but is like the new me. I've been quite good at ripping out the last 6 months. And cast on again with a 4mm needle. And I'm very pleased I did, and I'm very happy with the results. I know that it's going to look wonderful when it's blocked. The cable makes it have a very nice structure, and I do quite like that it doesn't have short rows. This doesn't have short rows, and I really love the fit. In fact, it fits me a lot better than some of the jumpers I have with short rows in. I did, just in case anyone does decide to knit this, I opted to remove half of the stitch markers until I worked any increases. It was just a bit clumsy and it wasn't very nice to knit on, having both sets of stitch markers per section, and if you purchase the pattern then you'll understand. But the markers that divided up where the cables go aren't necessary. I mean, I don't think they're really necessary until you start increasing, but I understand that for some it's very handy. But I opted to take half out, and it made the process a lot nicer, and then added them back in when I started doing the increases. The pattern suggests how it doesn't tell you how many rounds. It tells you the length the yoke needs to be from the neck, and I should have been a bit more intelligent maybe, but I used a stitch marker to mark where the end of the neck finished and measured from there. But I think I ended up adding an extra 1/4 of an inch or an extra 1/2 inch, and it wasn't until I'd finished the body where I thought, well, maybe I should have done an extra cable or two. But when I tried it on, I was really happy with it. I didn't anticipate how much I would enjoy this, and we'll see when it's finished and when it's on just how if it feels as serendipitous as it feels now. But I really love it. I think the colour is gorgeous, the pattern is beautiful, and the way the two combine it's very special. So I have tried to be fairly slow with this, but given that I'm knitting a vanilla sock pretty much and predominantly stockinette, this is going quickly, and that's a lot to do with, I guess, being in the situation we're all in and spending quite a bit of time sat in the evenings. I had actually today, using a fund from Ko-Fi, purchased a reading stand so that I can read and knit, because I'd like to step away from as much television. We never used to watch that much, and we have watched a lot more recently than we previously ever have, and that's completely, understandable, and it makes sense that we would. But I do have a couple of books that I would really love to read, but I always struggle not having something to do with my hands. I actually find it very uncomfortable sitting with a book in my hands and just being static. So I think being able to read and knit at the same time will be very beneficial to me, but also hopefully I can read the books that I've been hoping to, really get stuck into, that will be useful for my knitting projects going forward, for my knitting apprentice journey, my Knitting Guild masterpieces, and just learning more about fleeces and things. And this book here is This Golden Fleece by Esther Rutter, and it's a journey through Britain's knitted history. And I've read the first 2 chapters, and so far it is wonderful. But like I said, I haven't got that far into it because I just can't. I find it really hard not to knit when I'm sat down. So hopefully that will be a double whammy process, and things like this jumper and vanilla socks can happen whilst I feel like I'm learning, because I don't feel like I'm learning when I'm doing stockinette at this point. Ooh. And kind of tied in, this book has a lovely section on Ganzis, and I will talk about it a little bit further down the line. But Alex, who is my husband, if you've been here for a while, you'll know, and you will know that maybe at Christmas he did a Christmas Eve cast on, and he has finished that, and he is cast on for a second jumper, and that's just a heads up that hopefully next week, so over the weekend or in the week next week, I hope to record with him to share a little bit about that. And he is doing a modern take on the Ganzi by Kate Davies, which is pretty cool. And it was his birthday on Wednesday, so I thought I would mention that. Thank you so much. I got quite a few lovely Instagram messages saying happy birthday to Alex, and I can assure you that I passed on every single one. Bless him, he was very grateful. And we had a very quiet one. We did chat to some friends on Zoom for a little bit. He actually cast on that day, so he cast his jumper on his birthday and did a bit of knitting. And we also had veggie burgers with homemade chips and homemade shakes, which was really fun. Alex is doing a little bit of a diet mix-up to see if that will help his health. So he had an almond milkshake, which, like an almond milk milkshake with a touch of almond butter in it as well, double almond and banana, which was really good. In fact, his one was better than my shake, and that's because I'm a bit rubbish. No, I held back on my added ingredients, and it was not nearly as delicious as Alex's was. So that's that little digression. And yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to share and talk about briefly was Marina Skua. Sorry, I nearly went quiet about that in my head. Has released the I don't want to say it wrong, the Boscula jumper, and I think it's quite cool to share these things when they take you back as much as they do. And it's a pattern that she did release at the weekend, and it is knitted in Garthenor, like my socks, but in their number 2 and Pentland base, which are both bases that I'd be interested in trying at somewhere down the line. And it was just one of those moments where you're like, whoa, okay, that's beautiful. And it might be that somewhere down the line I knit it. I would love to knit it, but at the moment I have a few projects on the go and don't need to cast anything on as much as I'd love to. But I had to share it. It's sort of a combination between perfect symmetry and natural chaos almost. And it was designed with the idea of looking up through the trees at the naked branches, and I just think you can see that and feel it. And yeah, she talks about it on her latest episode of her podcast, which I've sat down and watched the first half of this morning while I waited for the sun to come up. And it really brought me a lot of joy, so I thought I would share that. And I think that's everything for this week, really. I might have to record on a Tuesday instead going forward, because I feel like I haven't quite got into the week yet. I just wanted a little bit of extra time to make sure that I can edit and upload without sort of feeling rushed. It means I can spend sort of 2 hours or 3 hours a day on a Monday and a Tuesday before uploading on a Wednesday, but maybe I'll have to move it to a Tuesday and film and edit on the same day entirely and hope that it uploads on a Wednesday. But that's my prerogative, I guess. But hopefully this was nice for you to sit down with your knitting or making and spend some time with me. It's really lovely to spend time with other knitters. I'm very grateful for the lovely comments and the sharing of information. That's really sweet. I do appreciate that. And yeah, I hope that you have a lovely week. If you had some snow, I hope you got to enjoy it. I know a few people went skiing and snowboarding, which is amazing. And no matter what you're up to, I hope you are staying safe, staying cozy, getting some peace in your life. I know that we all need a bit more of that at the moment. On a personal note, if you didn't know, I was/am a yoga teacher, and I have recently fell back in love with my practice, and that's to say doing it out of enjoyment and because I truly want to, not because I felt like I had to. And though I'm still moving my body in very gentle ways, I'm gaining a lot from it in terms of clarity, calmness, and a more comfortable body. So that's been really great. I think a little bit of support here and really connecting has helped massively this year already. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And yeah, that's probably enough from me. I will leave you with some nature. I hope that you get a little bit more peace from that, and I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I see you next week, hopefully with my husband in hand. Take care.
Tell us your secrets.
Can really hear that woodpecker.